You are now listening to Haunted Whispers, a podcast by ICT 11-2. Do you dare to listen to the whispers of fear?
Whispers of fear, tales of truth.
Welcome to Haunted Whispers.
I am Mai.
I am Melon.
And I am Death.
We are your hosts for tonight's episode.
Tonight, we're going to talk about the horrifying real-life experiences of students and residents here in Lanao del Sur.
Are you guys familiar with the group Sining Kambayuka in MSU Marawi main campus?
Yes, that group is well famous because of their spectacular performances. But what about them?
So as we all know, this group Sining Kambayuka, the world-class dance ensemble of the said institution, usually practice every night during weekend at 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. in UVS, and it is located at the 2nd Street MSU main campus.
Ah, that building beside International Convention Hall?
Yes, that building.
So, 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. every weekend is their usual practice schedule, right?
Yes, exactly. But on special or urgent performances, they stay in that building for overnight practices.
Oh, really?
Yes, so there was this one time when they had an urgent performance during one of the university's program, so they had to spend the night practicing. They had been practicing all night that everybody slept tightly. In the middle of the night, one of their freshman member got up and went to the toilet, and when she was heading back to the room, she heard the old kulintang near the stairs playing.
So there was no one awake at that time, right?
No one, since they were very tired from the practice, so they were all sleeping. So the girl got curious and decided to check on who was playing the instrument in that ungodly hour, and she slightly opened the door and saw an old man in barong and black pants.
That old man she saw, is he not one of the staff in that building?
No, since she was frozen and shocked when she saw him. Seconds later, the old man faced her. The old man has a very pale skin and was coming toward her. The girl was very scared and she shouted and shouted until the other members were awakened. She told them what she saw, and the group's trainer told everyone to just go back to sleep.
Gosh, did they believe her?
Yes, they believed her, of course. She asked her seniors about the incident, and they told her that many spirits linger at that building, and that one she saw was said to be the past director who really loved that place and was fond of playing the kulintang.
Really? So the old man was the late director of Sining Kambayuka?
Yes, he was. There are also times when the kulintang just starts playing and the lights turns on and off even if there is no one around that building.
And then, what happened to the kulintang today?
Obviously, the kulintang stays where it was placed years ago, and it is still waiting to be played again by the Midnight Kulintang Man.
That was a horrifying experience for that freshman member of their group. I hope she's doing well right now.
Yeah, that's right. If I were her, I would definitely collapse in fear. Imagine seeing that old man in the middle of the night playing the kulintang.
I would also collapse if I were her.
Just the Seekers.
So, here's another chilling tale from a listener named Vine.
Exciting! Let's hear it!
So, one night, Vine was out late because of an acquaintance party of the business administration and accountancy. There were no more available university pedicabs, so she and her gang decided to just walk to their boarding houses. Her house was on the 7th Street, the farthest, and she was the last one in her group to head home and had to walk alone down 7th Street.
Gosh, if I was her, I'll just stay overnight at one of my friends, then go home alone late at night.
Yeah, I would also do the same. As she was walking, she got this weird feeling like someone was watching her. Then, she heard a strange noise, like bells ringing.
Oh my goodness, that's so creepy.
Yeah, and it gets even worse. She continued walking as she could see the gate of her dorm. An ice cream man and a little boy suddenly appeared in front of her in the middle of the street, and they stared at her.
gosh, goosebumps! What did she do when she saw them?
She was so terrified, but she forced herself to keep walking. When she finally reached the gate of her dorm, she looked back,
Ooh, and then?
but they were gone.
Oh my goodness, that's so terrifying.
Later on, Vine learned the tragic truth. She found out that it is a normal sight at midnight on 7th Street. The ice cream man and the boy were victims of a hit-and-run unsolved case. Their spirits are still wandering the streets and unable to rest.
That's so sad. It's a reminder that even in death, some people don't find peace.
Exactly, and that was a creepy experience.
Definitely.
Walking Lady.
So here's another story. Have you also heard the story of the walking lady here in MSU?
That sounds familiar though.
In 1983, at night in BQ1, there was a Filipino department that was also studying. His name was Cesar Delfinado. So, they have their upcoming exam and he was the last one to stay awake.
Gosh, I think that's where the creepy things happened.
While he was drinking water, he heard light footsteps circling their living room. It was slow and light footsteps, but you could hear it, and he thought someone was sneaking into the room. Then he checked it out to be sure because you don't know if it could be a thief, right? But when they checked the room, there was no one.
No way. That scares the hell out of me.
Right? So, he decided to go back to the room. Inside the room, he again heard the steps circling the room twice. Then he decided to catch whoever it was. He waited, and for the third time, he heard the footsteps again. And these footsteps were like someone taking the stairs. When he opened the door, and again, he saw no one.
Oh gosh, it gives me goosebumps right now.
He waited for the slow steps again, and these steps kept repeating over and over. On the third and last step, it freaking stopped. He took a stick with him and waited again for these steps. These steps were again circling, and on the last turn, they stopped at the front of their room door.
Oh my gosh, in front of their door? That's so terrifying.
Cesar decided to open the door again, but still no one was there. After he checked, the footsteps were there again, circling in the living room, and just right on cue, the last step, there was a knock. But it was different now. Instead of using its knuckles, the fingernails were lightly knocking thrice on the door. He was so scared that he woke his classmates up.
That's so insane. Imagine experiencing that kind of story.
And you know what happened next? The day after that night, he was told that the old occupant of their room was an instructor who died there, and her belongings were just stored up in the ceiling. And after that day, all her stuff were then removed and delivered to her family at Linamon del Sur. Since then, there have been no more evening walks for her.
Gosh, I really got goosebumps with that. What's the reason of the death of that walking lady?
I don't know also. My friend didn't tell me the cause of the death of that lady.
Eerie lobbies and lockers.
So there's this one horror story rumor that has been circulating around MSU main campus. It's about the lobbies and lockers of some dormitories here in MSU Main.
You know what? I've realized that since the beginning of our podcast, most of the horror stories take place in schools, especially here in MSU main campus.
Yeah, me too. You know, I heard a rumor back when I was young that every school used to be hospitals. Many patients died there and it became haunted. But eventually, the hospital turned into schools.
Oh, really? When I was in elementary, I heard something similar. But the rumor was that schools used to be cemeteries. That's why there are so many ghosts around.
I think the rumors we heard back then might be a little true.
Nah, it's just a story. It's not real.
Okay. Let's now talk about creepy lobbies and lockers of some dormitories in MSU Maine.
Oh right, I almost forgot. We got too focused in those rumors about school histories. So, this story takes place at the dormitories around MSU main campus. Dormitories are heaven for MSU students. They are homes away from home, places where students study and rest after brain-draining exams. But like any other old student houses, there are hidden chills and thrills within their hallways and closets.
Oh, it sounds interesting. Hallways and locker rooms are usually where you'd think you'd run into your crush, making it feel like someone out of a romance novel.
I thought about that too, but every place has its dark secrets.
Yeah, so what happened next?
Okay, so it was Hell Week at the university. Everyone was busy studying for their midterm tests. The super new girls' dormitory hallways were silent. It was late at night and all her roommates were already fast asleep when Love, a 3-year resident of the dorm, heard and saw a figure pass by her bed. She brushed it off thinking it was nothing and continued studying. When she finished, she immediately went to bed.
I think I definitely know what will happen next.
Okay, so after lying down, a girl with long black hair covering her face came near her. Since Love was on upper deck, she realized the girl was floating. She wanted to scream, but her throat felt dry and no sound came out. All she could do was close her eyes and silently pray. She didn't sleep at all that night.
Oh, was she alone?
No, but her roommates were fast asleep at that night.
She should have asked for help.
No. I think it's better to just ignore it so the ghost won't bother you. If something like that happened, just stay calm and silently pray to God.
Yeah, I agree. So what happened next?
Okay, so the next morning, she told her roommates what happened and asked the caretakers about it. They said that a former occupant of the room had taken her own life because of depression.
Oh, that's so scary. So I've already decided when I became a college student, I'll live in an apartment instead of the dormitories. So my sister told me that another student had a similar experience in their dorm.
What is it? Can you share it with us?
So, Princess Lawanan Hall Dormitory is another haunted place on campus because of ghost stories. People say faucet and lights turns on and off by themselves and invisible children play in the hallway. But one of the most unforgettable story is about the lockers. So, while studying, Chris, a college student, needed to use the bathroom. Inside the CR, she heard a faint knocking sound from the last cubicle. She couldn't figure out where it was coming from and reassured herself that it was probably nothing.
I'm glad she ignored it. How could she stay so calm? If it were me, I'd hold it until the next morning. What if the ghost locked me in the bathroom? I'd probably faint. So what happened next?
So, when Chris returned to her room, she heard the knocking again, and this time, it was getting louder and louder. It wasn't just the sound of doors banging. She also heard the faint crying of a girl. She panicked and tried to wake up her roommates, but they didn't respond. She was confused and terrified, so she decided to hide inside her locker.
Gosh, why would she hide in the locker? That's even scarier. She should have just run to one of her roommates. I bet the ghost followed her into the locker.
You can't blame her though. If that happened to us, we'd panic too. No one knows how to react in situation like that. So, at that moment, Chris' heart was pounding and she was breathing so hard that she thought her chest would burst. Then when she turned her head, she saw the girl in white dress with long black hair inside the locker with her. She froze and that all she could do was close her eyes and pray for everything to end.
I knew it! I told you the ghost would follow her into the locker.
Gosh, I can't imagine being that close to a ghost. Just thinking about it definitely gives me chills. Did she fall asleep? What happened to her? Then tell me the ghost got her.
Yeah, Chris eventually fell asleep in the locker and woke up the next morning.
That's a relief.
And then, after that, Her roommates were startled and asked her what happened. She told them about her terrible experience and that when she learned that the story of a crying lady, this lady had taken her own life inside the same locker after finding out that she was pregnant.
That was a tragic story for that lady, killing herself just because of being pregnant. I hope she and her baby finds peace.
Yeah, I feel pity for the baby though, because it didn't have at least the chance to see the world.
You are now listening to Haunted Whispers, a podcast by ICT 11-2. Do you dare to listen to the whispers of fear?
Whispers of fear, tales of truth.
Hello guys, we're back and we are your host. I am Melon.
I am Mai,
And I am Tav.
and you are listening to Haunted Whisper.
Mai, I heard you went to the Pitan last year. How was your experience?
Yes, and you won't believe what I went through while I was there in Dapitan. Since we're sharing horror stories today, let me tell you mine. It was so traumatizing I couldn't even go to the bathroom alone for weeks.
It sounds like your experience in that place was terrifying. Can you share it with us?
Okay, so last year, we went to Dapitan with my mom's friends. I was really excited because it was my first time going there. I was also looking forward to seeing the place where our great hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, was exiled. But while there in Dapitan is a great tourist spot, it also has a dark mystery behind it.
I've heard the Pitan is a nice and relaxing place to visit with friends. I didn't know it had ghost stories too.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we were heading to Dapitan and the journey was actually great. But on the way, my mom's friends started joking about ghosts in the room we are going to stay in. They were laughing about it until we arrived at the hotel. At first, everything seemed fine. The place was peaceful, the birds were chirping, the wind was blowing, and kids were playing and laughing nearby.
But why did you say it was terrifying to go there?
Well, if you don't know, I'm one of those people who can sense bad spirits in the surroundings. My mom is the same way. She can feel them too, and she even has the ability to count how many are around.
Oh, so did you and your mom felt anything there?
Yes, we both felt something. My mom said there were 2 spirits in the area.
There were 2 spirits in the area? Really? What happened next?
Okay, that night, my mom's friend wouldn't stop laughing and joking around. My mom tried to quiet them, but they ignored her. When I was finally time to sleep, strange things started happening. The bathroom light kept turning on and off. Door would open and shut on its own. I tried to ignore it, but I felt someone walking back and forth near us. Then, out of nowhere, I felt the ghost sit on our bed.
Oh my gosh, what did you do? Were you scared?
I was terrified. To make things worse, I was on my period and I heard spirits are more attracted to women during that time. I closed my eyes and prayed silently, hoping it would go away.
So it's true that some people can feel spirits and you're one of them, girl. So what happened after that?
The next morning, my mom and her friends were already talking about it. It turns out that I wasn't the only one who experienced something strange. The ghost also sat behind one of my mom's friends during that night. When I heard that, I was so scared. I believe it or not, I held my pee and poop for 3 whole days because I was too afraid to go to the bathroom.
Gosh, that's so creepy. Did anything worse happen after that?
Yes, one of my mom's friends, the one who kept laughing and joking, ended up getting possessed by the ghost. They tried to help her, but no one could cure her except for a witch doctor, or albularyo as we call it in Filipino.
Oh my god, that's so terrifying. So you had to cut your trip just because of that?
Yes, we had to go home earlier than planned because of that incident.
That's why when you're in an unfamiliar place, it's important to minimize laughing and behave properly. You don't want to trigger any spirit that might be around.
Yeah, exactly. But let me ask you, did you at least enjoy your trip?
Yes, of course. I even bought a cute plushie at one of their boutiques. But if you're asking if I'd go back there, the answer is definitely no.
How about you, Melon? Have you experienced any scary or terrifying situations, or have you seen a real ghost?
Of course, I've experienced once.
Really? Can you share it to us?
So okay, before that, are you familiar with doppelgangers?
Is it the one that looks exactly like us but isn't really our twin? Like a spirit or a ghost?
Yes, that's right. So do you guys believe in doppelgangers?
For me, yes. In Maranao, we call it 𝑖𝑛𝑡𝑜. Our ancestors said that these creatures look exactly like us, but we can see them. And don't be deceived, they are ghosts and they can harm or even kill you.
Ooh, how about you, Mai?
No, I don't believe in that. How can someone exist and look exactly like us? What's the purpose of that anyway?
I understand you both have different perspective, but let me share my experience with doppelgangers.
Oh, let's hear it. What happened?
I don't know why, but people close to me have seen my doppelgangers and only I haven't. Let me tell you about the times they saw it.
Wait, you haven't seen him? Poor guy, he must have chosen the wrong face to copy. Why didn't he go for someone like Louis Patrich or Mingy from 17? Of all people, he chose you? Just kidding. Continue, please.
What's wrong with that? I'm handsome. It's not my fault even ghosts want to copy my face.
Duh.
Oh my god. Okay, so back to the story. So when I was in high school, my kuya told me about something that happened when I was around 6 years old. One night, he and his friend were hanging out in our compound. He left to buy cigarette and as he came back, he saw me running toward the gate and suddenly, I got hit by a car.
Really? So what happened next?
Okay, he yelled at the driver, panicked, and ran to tell our parents. But when he got inside the house, our dad told him that I was asleep on that couch the entire time. My kuya was so terrified and he was so sure that it was me. He convinced our parents to go back to the scene, but when they got there was nothing. When my kuya told me the story, I felt very creeped out.
OMG! So your kuya saw your doppelganger? Did he say what it looked like?
I didn't ask him, but based on his reaction, I think it looked exactly like me.
Gosh, that's so scary. Now I'm starting to think, am I talking to the real you or you're a clone?
Maybe yes or maybe no. Just kidding. But let me tell you about another incident.
Another incident? What happened this time?
Okay, one time there was a brownout in our barangay. My sibling and I started talking about ghosts since it was the perfect time to talk about it. My sister then told me that she had seen my doppelganger as well. After school, she went to the kitchen and saw me walking toward my room. She tried to ask me something and I just nodded no. But she said my face looked pale and almost lifeless. And then, a little while later, she went to check my room, but it was empty. Then she remembered that she had messaged me earlier that day asking if I'd be home, and I replied that I wasn't. I was staying at my friend's place, and then she was alone in our house. So she ran to our neighbor's place to stay for a while.
Gosh, I'm literally shaking. So your doppelganger didn't say anything? Like just nodded?
Yeah, every time I think about it, it literally gives me chills.
If I ever experienced that, I think I'd cry on the spot.
Me too. Gosh, did it ever happen to appear again?
Yes, this is the most recent incident. It happened late one night when my friend and I were hanging out outside my house. Two of my other friends passed by and stopped to chat. While we were talking, those same two friends came back and told us that they just seen me walking toward the store. They asked how I gotten back so quickly when they just had seen me heading the other way.
Wait, what? That's so confusing. Why does your doppelganger keep showing up? Did you do something to trigger it?
I'm not sure though, but honestly, I've never seen it myself.
Like, not even once?
No, but I'm scared that one day it walks up to me, smiling with a pale face, and starts talking to me. Oh my gosh.
Gosh, that's so terrifying. It's not impossible though. If it happens, just pray silently and try to ignore it as hard as you can.
How about you, Taff? Any experience to share?
Yeah, Taff, I bet you also have an experience to this kind of things.
Actually, I could share was my childhood in our small rural home in our province.
Oh, that's interesting. It is scarier when it's experienced in a province.
Oh my god, you're definitely right. In provinces, there are a lot of aswang, or what we call balbal in Maranao. That's where you find many kinds of aswang such as manananggal, kapre, duwende, and many more.
Yup, that's a fact. Okay, so back to the story. One night at exactly 12 a.m., I woke up to loud noises coming from our roof. It was not just a random sound. It sounded like footsteps, things moving, and something falling. My heart dropped. I froze with fear, unable to even gather the courage to leave my bed or go to the bathroom. But finally, I forced myself to get up and rush to the bathroom. Even my heart is pounding and my hands are shaking.
Gosh, you had a lot of courage to go to the bathroom after those sounds you heard from your roof. If I were you, I'd rather be myself than force myself to go to the bathroom.
Well, I had to build up some courage, even though I was so terrified that time. So, my grandmother woke up soon after and I told her about what I heard. And guess what? She calmly said, "It's just your imagination. The bayabas are falling because the crows eat them and the cat must have been chasing rats." And in the next morning, I saw falling bayabas on the roof and even a dead rat nearby. And it all made sense, right? But to a child in the dark of the night, hearing those footsteps felt very, very real.
Oh my god, well, that was very unexpected.
Yeah, I thought that it was an aswang or ghost, but it was just a fruit and a cat chasing a rat.
Oh my god.
Here's another chilling story. This time, it is from my uncle. When our grandmother passed away and her house was far from where we lived, one night, my uncle rode his motorbike there. As he rode through the dark in the forested road, he saw something, or I will say someone near the trees. A figure with black and curly hair.
Let me guess, he got curious and went up to check that figure, right?
Nope, you're wrong, because he did not know what it was and his heart was racing. But instead of panicking, he focused on his prayers. He recited surahs to calm himself and tried not to pay attention to the figure. His prayers gave him peace as he made it safely to the house without looking back.
Gosh, that's a relief. Your uncle is so smart because he didn't pay attention to the figure. If that's in a horror movie, the actor would surely go to the figure.
You're right, your typical horror movie plot.
If you have made it this far, we just want to thank you for listening right through. Today, we talk about some real-life horror experience of students, residents, and our own experiences here in Lanao del Sur. These stories show that real-life horror often happen when we least accept them. Whether it's a creak on a roof, the footsteps in the dark, or mysterious figures crossing our path, fear is natural, but faith, prayer, and understanding can guide us through the scariest moments.
If you want to share your own experience, don't hesitate to send a message to our Facebook and TikTok account. Don't forget to follow us and tune in.
And to express our gratitude for the following yet another episode of
Haunted Whispers.
Whispers of